Okay, today I'm going to be discussing with you modernism through the lens of Jacques Tati's Playtime and Jacques Lacan's Three Worlds. But first of all, I need to introduce somebody that is very important. I want to introduce a very important man. He may be here in the room, he may be here in the street, he may be in his office, maybe in, I don't know, working in crypto or something. This man is the organization man. Who is the organization man? The organization man is the corporate culture conformist. He is the man who rids of all his individual beliefs and wants to work for the sake of the organization. He is very loyal to the organization, he is very loyal to his work, he is a hardworking man, and he just follows the organization. Individualism is completely destroyed. William White talks about the organization man in a way where he's not even allowed to get a stomach ulcer or have a day off or cannot not go to work. The organization man theory, or it was debated a lot actually, and it developed at the same time as modernism in architecture. Modernism was a machine that changed the world by imposing a degree of uniformity on modern cities everywhere. That's what I want to highlight today. I want to discuss how modernism systemized human beings. And first of all, I want to discuss the triggers of modernization. When people moved from rural areas into the cities where the factory was, there was a high demand for accommodation for the workers. And with the technological advancement of modernism and the machine age, it became much easier to build a unit for shelter within a very fast amount of time, which is what was required at the time. So, we also have, after World War I, what was needed at the time, the architects felt, was the lack of anything that is ornamentation, decoration, and we just had to focus on functionality. They said, get rid of anything that is not necessary, we're just focusing on function. The Bauhaus School of Design is also a big influence on this, which is the big glass steel box. Alright, so we all know form follows function, less is more, etc. And the house is a machine to live in. So how is this complex human being contained in a unit that is really small and completely getting rid of all of this person's needs? There's a theory I would like to discuss as well, which is architectural determinism. Architectural determinism was a theory that stated that human beings' behavior can be controlled through their behavior, which is not physically or figuratively possible, as they stated that, if we build better places or better architecture, then we're going to create better people. However, that is not true, as Le Corbusier, the Sack House, has failed, even though it was ideal in every single standard. It was ideal. However, the people who were living there, the residents, felt uncomfortable, unhappy, etc. So, do you remember the man that I was talking about earlier? He is everywhere in this film. He is the organization man. He is he is the small other, which is something I'm going to discuss later. This film is called Playtime by Jacques Tati. I have researched a lot about what was the criticism on the movie itself and what Jacques Tati was trying to do. And there were keywords like American mass corporate culture, conformism was a big word. Biggest word was satire, comedy. It was very Chaplin-style film. It is a silent movie. There's no script. There's just dialogue, random dialogue from very different languages, from very different regions. Okay, so I have to discuss something that is very important about the film. According to Tati, which is the director, writer, and producer of the film, he states that the set of the film itself is the main star of the film, because he wanted to highlight and magnify the comic future of modernism and how people are going to be in the future in this modern society. It was around 15,000 square meters big, and it was exclusively steel, concrete, plastic, and glass. He created the Pseudo City, which is a fake city, because he did not want to film within the city. He wanted to portray the perfect image, even if it was an exaggeration. Exaggeration is a big part of this film as well. I'm going to show you a lot of visuals from the film because it is so important to understand the atmosphere and what was trying to do. Now, modernism implied that, everything is going to be simple, minimalist, and no need for anything to differentiate a space from another. So I want to ask you, where do you think this space is?
Hospital.
Airport.
Okay. Interesting, someone said hospital. Because that was Tati's intention. He wanted to confuse the viewer to thinking that this was a hospital. Because we see a nurse passing by at some point. We see many random characters that do not belong in the same place. And then we discover that it's an airport. That is an airport through the flight, like the, what is the word? Announcement of the flights. Alright. Every single person in this film, every single character, is irrelevant, and all of them are conforming. Everyone wants the same thing, everyone wants to buy the same thing, and everyone is being framed within architecture. And glass is a very, very, very important element that Tati highlights in this film. Also, he, for example, in this scene, he highlights how ridiculous this very long corridor is. And by the way, it makes you watch this man walk all the way there to leave. Now, the antagonist of the film, he's not the main character, but kind of is the main character, Monsieur Hulot. Monsieur Hulot is a very old, humble, normal man, probably from a rural area, who comes into this world and becomes very lost in it. He has some business to attend to or some document to work on. Yes, I'm going to highlight here as well the automation technology without any differentiation or without any detail as to what is what. And also, architecture is supposed to pay respect to the users of the space and it's supposed to be universally accessible to all genders, groups, age groups, etc. This old man has no idea what he's doing. Tati highlights that as he passes every single one until he looks at the manual or something and then he finds the actual. They show you the contrast between Monsieur Hulot, who is resistant to conformism, and we see this man who seems like he's very well put together, he knows where he's going, he knows what he's doing, etc. I'm talking about all of these things because I will come back to them later with psychology. There's a lot of scenes in the film that highlight the ideology of that modern society. Now, I want to highlight that Tati was not necessarily resenting modern architecture. However, he resented the modern society that lived within the architecture. For example, they show here as if this figure, important figure, is watching Monsieur Hulot as he's walking by. Tati highlights transparency and how it was extensively used, and it was almost like an invisible border, allowing people to go certain places. You're allowed to come here, you're not allowed to come here, etc. Monsieur Hulot has been looking for a man throughout the whole film. The man he perceives him as if he's there, however, the man is literally right there, as you can see. Also, this is, as a pedestrian, if you're walking by the street, he highlights how this is comedian comedy. That's what he just they show you two people in their apartments, and the apartments look exactly like any lobby, or like there is no couch actually. Everyone has their own chair, that if there's an extra guest, one of them has to stand up. And it shows you as if they're watching each other, however, they're both watching television in different apartments. Now, Monsieur Hulot is lost in the cellular remains. How is a human being, or several human beings, being contained within these cellular units when they are so much more complex than that? Every one of these is an organization map or a small other, which I'm going to address later on. So, here we reach Jacques Lacan, who is a psychoanalyst and a psychiatrist. Jacques Lacan we can say he's a fan of Freud as he returns to Freud and revisits him. However, he discusses Freud's psychoanalytic theory, but introduces it in a new light, which is through language. These three orders, I'm going to discuss them within the film and relate them to modern architecture. Now, the three orders are the imaginary, the real, and the symbolic. The imaginary order is the ego and the most narcissistic order of the three. The symbolic is the language and the rules and dictations of society, which you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, etc. The real is impossible to grasp, as it is the true essence of a human being, which is impossible for a person to understand because it is beyond the realm of language. This is actually now. Slavoj Žižek describes the three orders. He discusses Lacan's psychoanalytic theory. However, he makes a very simple comparison. He compares it to chess. The imaginary order basically is the image of the pieces of the chess. It is the knight or the queen, the name that it is given, etc. The symbolic is the rules in which each piece can move in. However, the real is the entire experience of the two people playing chess, and it is beyond understanding or beyond, you cannot pin it down. For instance, you cannot determine whether this player ate well today, is functioning well today, their intelligence is high, or their IQ in the game is. There are many factors that are not they can't be determined. Now, I have to discuss Saussure's semiology. Well, we're going to enter semiology. Okay, so there is a signifier and there is a signifier. The signifier this is where we're entering the world of language, which is pulled in the symbolic order, which is why it's important for you to understand this. The signifier, it is the sign that represents that you have to do something or that this means something. For example, if I say tree, you're going to think of a tree in your head. If you see the stop sign, this is the signifier, but what is signified is that you need to stop. Or for instance, the written letter T. When you see it, the enunciation of T is the signifier. Now, I'm going to discuss back to the film and the three orders and architecture. We see this very empty room, just the meeting table, and all of these organization men. These organization men in the symbolic, the symbolic is also called the big other. The big other is basically all the individuals. They have to follow these unsaid rules. This is how we behave. There's a seat here, I'm going to sit here. Oh, it says don't sit, I'm not going to sit. So here they show you how dare Monsieur Rio enter such a room while they're all busy, like it is something impossible for them to do. Also, I would like to highlight that transparency in the film represents, or not represents, was necessary in order for people to be observed by the big other, by the big organization, which is the same as the cellular units that we all see. You can supervise everybody from there. Modernism gave this open plan, and it highlighted that the big other can control these small others by the plan layout, by the transparency, and by not giving them anything that is going to spike any interest or make them distracted from their job. For instance, also here, people just wanted things in order to feed their ego. There's a significant kind of lack or suffering that the person has when it comes to their imaginary order. You always suffer to live up to the mirror image that you have, to your specular image. So you always want things, and when you keep wanting things and get them, you're going to want other things. This lack is just a signifier of this loss, and you're going to keep wanting more things and more things. For example, here also Tati shows this radio that looks exactly like a building. Everything looks the same. Every single thing looks the same. And these organization men, they all know how to behave. They all know I should stand in line, wait until I enter the bus. This is a very big part of the symbolic order. Here, I would like to discuss the signifier and the signifier. This door, by the way, is broken. It is shattered. However, this restaurant scene is a very high-class bourgeoisie kind of setting. The door is broken, so they cannot show that it is broken, and the doorman still has to do his job. So he just rolls the door down, and as people pass by, he pretends like he's opening the door. Now, I want to discuss the real here because these people who are all acting the same and know what to do, know what to sit, where to sit, how to behave, all of a sudden, when they go to a restaurant where there's music, music signifies that you are allowed to have fun, you're allowed to enjoy, you're allowed to dance, etc. However, by mistake, the decoration in the space starts to destroy and dismantle. And when this happens, more chaos happens and people start to really enjoy themselves. As the physical built environment was destroyed, people's jouissance started to come out. And after this jouissance was experienced, we finally see color in the film. The film was blue, gray, that kind of thing. And yes, I'm going to make a table as I haven't put it here, but I have put the images, and I'm going to relate them to which order they are in and the architectural elements of modernism that highlight these orders.